We are all about giving, and we give blind and visually impaired people a whole new world.
I lost my sight as a result of a complication of diabetes. I have diabetic retinopathy, and I'm 100% blind. I can't see anything. I see black all the time.
Right now, I can see everything, but it's out of focus.
I lost vision from a genetic disease that at the time it was thought not to be inherited, but actually my father had it.
I was the financial manager of an advertising corporation.
I was a visual person. I was a photographer. You know, I took pictures everywhere I went. I had a camera with me.
I've never seen my children or my grandchildren.
Losing my sight changed the way I, dealt with the world.
The owner came in to me one day and said, I don't like to have sick people working here, so this is going to be your last day.
My only image of blindness when I was growing up is a blind person standing on a corner, begging for money.
He wouldn't tell you that they were fine when they lost their sight, because no one is. I came here. I just walked in because I knew the place was here. I walked by it every day.
I was kind of in that hole for like 2 years. Just like fell out of society, and then I just finally, my mom did some research and found ASB, Associated Services.
People, when they start, they've lost vision, and most people have lost vision at least 2 years or so before they're emotionally ready to come in for some rehab and for some training. And when they do, I see them come in and they're so unsure.
I thought my life was over, that I would never be able to participate in sports. I wouldn't be able to go back to school. Wouldn't be able to hold a job. That I would always have to depend on others for everything that I wanted or needed. But, through ASB and the services that they provided, I learned that that was not my only option anymore.
What I learned at ASB were basic life skills that I take for granted that I should have known.
I had a blind teacher, I walked in and there was blind people working, there was a support system.
Taught me to use Zoom text and opened up I was totally computer literate, and it took me completely back to everything that I used to do, and I'm flying way far ahead now. And ASB supplied me with a computer.
I just generally feel that ASB doesn't allow people to just throw in towel.
After coming to ASB, I've reached a point where I'm totally independent, where I'm back exactly where I was before my big blind problem happened. It's all erased. That whole period in my life has been erased.
In my role at ASB, I find that I am able to give back to other visually impaired people what I received, the confidence and the support that I received from my parents.
It's a tremendous feeling to live independently. I mean, to be able to, do what I want when I want to do it.
And the computer teacher said to me, "Why don't you teach the art course?" I said, "Will they let me?" And he said, "You won't know until you ask." And I asked, and they said, "We'll try it." And that was 1.5 years ago, and I haven't stopped.
So I was employed by ASB, I was a client of ASB, and to volunteer is just being able to give back to an agency that's given so much to me.
The jewelry that's being made, these people never made jewelry at any point in their life. And they're making things now that could be sold professionally. That's a big deal, I think.
My thoughts were never, can I do this? My thoughts were, how can I do this?
Try to introduce people who are still going through that, that rejection of blindness stage, that things are possible. It takes time, it'll come to you when you're ready, but it's possible to do things independently.
Had I not come to ASB, I would be at home in my apartment 24 hours a day, and I would still be completely depressed.
I take it as my responsibility to be an ambassador for the blind. So I volunteer, you know, I participate in sports, you know. I ride a tandem, I rock climb.
People should support ASB because we give visually impaired and blind people a whole new outlook on life.